After I aired the field logs in episode 10, I thought things might quiet down. They didn't. 3 days later, a new tape arrived. This one was clean, deliberate, like she had been waiting for the right moment to send it. No return address, no note, just a black cassette in a gray case. The only marking, a single symbol etched into the plastic. Angular, recursive, almost fractal, nothing I'd seen before. The audio quality was clearer than any of the field logs, like it had been recorded in isolation, not in a war zone. The voice? It's hers. The engineer, the one who built the tools. If the field logs were documentation, this tape feels like something else. A reckoning.
The idea was simple. If they can see us through the veil, then we can reach through it too. We called it resonance phase tethering, a way to bind field geometry to stable reference points in local cognition. Think of it like anchoring a boat in a storm of consciousness. The first success came when we stabilized a symbol array during a hyperdream state Tier 2 penetration. It responded. I don't mean metaphorically. Something behind the veil reacted to the structure, like a mirror twitching before it breaks. That was the first proof, and the last time we thought we could control it. We built a defensive architecture using recursive negation fields. The idea was to disrupt symbol recognition, their interface with our cognition. But it backfired. One of the mirrors, it didn't reflect anymore. It reached. We called it a mirror spike. When it appeared, we lost 2 subjects in 0.7 seconds. No trace, no memory residue, just blank psychic space. I started having dreams after that. I was in a hallway with no doors. My reflection wouldn't move. Then it spoke. You're building keys to the wrong door. Project Silhouette classified it as Category 5 cognitive assault. But to us, it was just the noise. We found that certain frequency symbol overlaps, specifically recursive vowels embedded in geometric progression, could disrupt veil entity proximity, like throwing sand in the gears of a machine. We built the first active defense array, the Gauss mind wall. It pulsed waves of fractalized symbols into veil-adjacent space. For 42 seconds, we were undetectable. The silence was beautiful. But something else found us. It wasn't a warden. It wasn't even from our recursion. It spoke, in a language I didn't know, but understood. Humans aren't the only prisoners in this system. Something else is trying to break through. After the mind wall test, the frequencies began to change. We weren't broadcasting. Something else was tuning us. We traced the resonance spike to coordinates outside human geometry. Not symbolic, not numerical. It came in pulses, a kind of intention more than signal. The team began to fracture. One researcher carved a spiral into his own eye. Another couldn't stop writing the same glyph in blood. I stayed, because I wanted to know what was listening. We called it RSC, recursive signal vectoring, a prototype of veil-adjacent weaponry. It operated not by force, but by recursion inversion, making the entity recognize itself as an anomaly. It worked. Once. The warden shattered. Not destroyed. Shattered. Into time. Into memory. I've seen fragments of it in people's dreams. It's not gone. It's distributed. But the cost, I think we pierced something above their chain. After the breach, I began to feel watched, not by the wardens, not by mirrors, by something that had been asleep. They came 2 weeks later, not entities. Men, suits I didn't recognize, badges with redacted names, no insignia. They already knew about the RSV breach. They didn't ask for my research. They asked how far I'd gone, what I'd seen. They weren't afraid of the veil. They were afraid of what might come through it. One of them whispered before leaving, "You're not supposed to be building ladders. You're supposed to reinforce the cage." That's when I knew. The veil isn't just hiding the truth. It's hiding us from something worse. I built one last prototype, a weapon, a beacon, a message. I don't know anymore. It exists in a non-fixed state. I can't describe it in language, but it's awake. I didn't activate it. I buried it. Somewhere no one will find it. Because something else already has. They're watching me now. Not the wardens, not even the watchers. Higher order minds. Alien, not just in origin, but in awareness. They are not here to destroy the veil. They want to replace it. Don't trust the ones who claim to liberate. They are curating a new illusion. That's all I can give you. Use it well.
I shut the tapes off. My hands were shaking. Not because of what she said, but because part of me already knew. The veil is not just a prison, it's a battlefield. There are factions we can't see, wars of perception, weapons made of memory, armies made of symbols, and something, somewhere, is watching our resistance like an experiment. She wouldn't give me her name. I still don't know where the tapes came from. Only that they arrived the day after I posted the Kessler tape. That's the part that chills me. Not that someone knew I'd received the Kessler tape, but that something wanted me to hear it. And now, you have too. I thought that tape would be the end of it. A last transmission from someone too far gone to ever come back. But last night I got an email. No sender, no subject line, just a single attachment, an audio file. Not a tape, not analog. This one was intentional, direct. The voice is different, confident, articulate. Maybe a little too proud of how clever he sounds. He says his name is Dr. Lennart Solis. Claims to have been working on a competing theory of the veil. Not under Project Silhouette, independently, off the books. He told me that Kessler's models are incomplete, that Silhouette was misguided. He also said something else, that he knew my father, that Kessler and her team are responsible for his death, and that he has proof. He wouldn't send it yet, just a promise that more is coming. He says it'll all make sense soon. I don't know if I believe him, but I believe something's coming. So you'll hear his recording. His version of the truth. I don't trust him yet, but I'm listening.
Julia, my name is Dr. Lennart Solis. I know you don't know me, and I know how that sounds. These days, unknown men with tapes isn't exactly a comforting trope, but I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to correct the record. You've been walking through a world drawn by other people's maps. Kessler's maps, silhouettes, the tapes you've played, torn pages from a manual written in the dark. I've drawn my own maps, and the shape I've found is different, sharper, more alive. I didn't work with Kessler. I wasn't even born when Project Silhouette was disbanded. I came to this through noise, literal noise, signal anomalies that didn't behave like anything else on the spectrum. They weren't electronic, they weren't natural, and they weren't random. I thought I was studying an electromagnetic phenomenon. What I found was the veil, or at least something that behaves like it. Julia, the veil isn't some passive filter, it's an evolving threshold. It reacts to inquiry. It shifts when it's observed, and worse, it adapts to the observer. That's what Kessler never grasped. For all his brilliance, and he was brilliant, he saw the veil as a container, a wall, a defense mechanism. But this isn't a prison, it's a feedback loop. Think of it like code that rewrites itself when someone gets too close to seeing the original pattern. I've been studying what you call the veil for the past 6 years independently, no funding, no institutional backing, not because I wanted to be a lone wolf, but because every attempt I made to formalize this research was quietly shut down. I only started getting close when I stopped asking for permission. You think you're uncovering the aftermath of an abandoned program. You're not. You're standing in the middle of an ongoing process. The veil is not dormant. It never was. And what you're observing, the symbols, the spikes, the disappearances, they're not phenomena. They're responses. We've treated the veil like an object, a barrier, a veil between two things, but that's a conceptual error. The veil isn't between, it's around. It's a container for perception. A filter, yes, but not a passive one. It reacts to cognition. It shapes itself to ideas. The more we study it, the more it reflects our study back at us. That's not metaphor, that's physics. Reflexive field behavior, semantic recursion, symbolic feedback. If that sounds familiar, it should. Kessler knew some of this, but he didn't understand the consequences, or he didn't care. See, the difference between his model and mine comes down to this. He believed the veil was a defense system, a kind of metaphysical quarantine. I think it's more like a memory management protocol. The veil edits. It compresses meaning. It decides what gets stored in consciousness and what gets discarded. That's why the entities you've reported feel fragmented, why symbols behave like viruses, why memory is the first thing to break. It's not that something is trying to invade our minds. It's that our minds were never fully our own. You don't just risk opening a door when you investigate. You risk changing the door. You risk changing yourself. And here's where it gets personal. Because I started to see names pop up, repeated ones embedded in documents, patterns, even in those anomalous signal layers. One of those names was yours. Another was your father's. Julia, your father wasn't just a bystander. He was part of a group that tried to breach the veil through something called resonant cognition, mental signal modeling, thought form feedback. He believed, and from what I've found, he might have been right, that if the mind could hold a true shape of the veil, it could interact with it, bypass it. That group no longer exists, and every single one of them either vanished or died strangely. Your father was closer to the truth than anyone in Silhouette was comfortable with. I believe, no, I am certain that he was eliminated, not because he leaked data, but because he asked a question Kessler couldn't answer. A question about what came before the veil. I don't believe in fate, I believe in recursion. Whatever your father started didn't end. It echoed, and now it's echoing through you. Your podcast, your questions, they're not just drawing attention, they're amplifying the signal. You're not following a trail, you're becoming one. And I know what that sounds like. Believe me, I do. I sent you this recording because if I tried to reach out in person, I don't think I'd make it. These broadcasts, your episodes, they're not just reaching curious people like me. They're pulsing through a structure that's reactive. The more coherent your narrative becomes, the more the veil will adapt to accommodate it or reject it. That's not a threat, it's a pattern. A few weeks ago, I ran a resonance cascade based on your field log transcript, the one with the spiralized subject and the recursive glyph. Julia, something responded, something local. That's why I'm speaking now, because I think you're close to triggering something Kessler tried to suppress, and I think you deserve to know why. The deeper I've gone into this, the more erratic the world around me becomes. People watching who aren't people. Messages I didn't write. Mirrors showing things I haven't done yet. I have one more recording to send. It's not just audio. It's evidence, a model, a simulation of what happens when the veil is provoked. You'll hear from me again if I make it that far. Watch the patterns, Julia. Not just what they show you, watch what they expect you to do, and for God's sake, if something tells you it's your father speaking to you, it isn't.
That was Dr. Lennart Solis. Not a voice from the past, but one from now. Someone like me, someone looking, and I'll be honest, his words rattled me. Not because of the warnings, but because of the implication. That I'm not documenting this. I'm participating in it. I always thought the veil was a wall, a boundary, something ancient, indifferent, maybe even merciful in its silence. But if what Solis says is true, then it's not silent. It's listening. And every episode I release, every tape I play, might not be a revelation. It might be a response. My father's name, the unanswered questions, the symbol etched into the cassette. None of this is coincidence. I'm starting to suspect I wasn't just left these recordings. I was meant to find them. Or maybe they were meant to find me. I don't know what Solis is sending next. I don't know if he'll survive to send it. But I know I'll be here, waiting, watching the patterns, listening to the noise beneath the signal. And if you're hearing this, maybe you were meant to as well. So keep your eyes open, check your mirrors. And if something speaks in a voice that feels too familiar, don't answer. This has been Beneath the Silent Stars. If you want to stay ahead of what's coming, follow us on Spotify or YouTube. And if you've seen the symbol Solis described, fractured geometry, recursive patterning contained in a perfect circle, send it to me. Because I think we're being drawn into something bigger than we understand. And we might not get another warning.